Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman on a Friday. Lots to talk about. We are going to get into some of the moves that we would make if we were Howie Roseman. Zach, put on our Howie Roseman shoes, expensive shoes probably, but there's some Eagles news to get to. How are you, first of all?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Excited for what's ahead, this show, in these next few weeks. The Eagles news. Well, I should say, how are you?
The Eagles news is how am I?
No, how are you?
I am well.
There you go.
How are you?
Okay. The Eagles news.
Relax. Take it easy, my man. It's Friday.
The Eagles news. This came out a few minutes before. It's as expected, but credit to Adam Schefter for reporting it first. Kevin Byard is being released. When I say the as expected, because the Eagles are going to save $13 million, I believe, in cap space by doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most obvious moves possible for them to make, but yes.
So we had talked about in the stay or go rankings, if he came back, it would be under a new deal because it wouldn't be under the previous deal. So he's released. He gets to go elsewhere, or if the market's not there and he wants to stay home, come back at a lower price. But the Kevin Byard era with the Eagles might be finished pretty quickly.
So if you were the back page editor at the erstwhile Daily News, would you have gone with Kevin Goodbyard or Kevin by Byard?
I would defer to you with that. You're good at those headlines, but probably by BYE -ARD.
Just the one.
Yes, the one. It pops a little more.
Okay.
You don't need the first name in the back page headline.
Yeah, but it's less funny. It's less esoteric.
Well, you
it's
are
more obvious. Yeah.
You prefer the esoteric.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, listen. They didn't give up much to get him.
Nope.
He probably underwhelmed relative to their expectations, and this, the contract structure. This was pretty easy, decision wise. I'm sorry. You're looking at me like I have horns on my head.
I'm listening to you speak. I'm making eye contact. Should I just be looking at the camera while you're speaking?
You're scaring me a little bit.
Scaring you with eye contact?
Yeah.
Isn't that like rule 101 when someone's speaking, make eye contact with them?
Yeah, but in like a congenial way, not in a terrifying robotic way, which are trying to look through my soul.
My eye contact is terrifying.
Right now, I think it is.
So I'm sorry. I was taught when I was a kid.
And you got this. You got straight posture. You're freaking me out.
I was taught when I was a kid. At the end of every conversation, you should know the color of someone's eyes, right? Because that means you're making eye contact.
But that means you're just looking at their eyes and just trying to. You're not listening. You're just staring into their eyes.
You can listen and look at someone's eyes at the same time.
Honestly, if you had asked me before the show started today, what color are your eyes, I would not have had a good answer.
Okay. You know what color my eyes
are? Black.
My eyes are blue. Okay. Let's get on with the show.
Yeah. All right. Do you think now? Let me ask you this, because this was the most obvious cap decision.
Yes.
Do you expect more of these in the coming days? And I think specifically, the one that is most interesting is Avonte Maddox.
Good point. I think that the outward releases I would expect in the coming days, but I think some of those, like the Avonte Maddox types, where maybe there's a renegotiation, I think that stretches closer to the start of the league year because the players weighing what, the agents come back from the combine, they have a sense of players' markets, right? They're weighing what they would get on the open market versus what that restructured contract is.
And also the raising of the cap means there's no crunch to get under the cap before the league year starts, right? For Avonte Maddox, you can work longer on what kind of restructure you might
Sure.
want to do if he wants to stick around.
Sure. I think the moves that I would expect in the coming days, and when I say coming days, it's somewhat liberal, like in the next week and a half, up to the start of the league year, and really up to the start of the tampering period, is the decision on Jason Kelce and the decision on Fletcher Cox. Because the Eagles...
Well, the decision from them rather
from
than
them,
on them.
From
Yes.
them. And we all remember the scene in the Kelce documentary where he's wrestling with the decision by the start of the league year. And I don't think it's as if the Eagles are giving him a deadline, but
he feels a responsibility. Yeah.
And I think the Eagles they'll have a path to pursue this offseason without Kelce and a path to pursue with Kelce, right? Because you know what your cap dollars are one way or the other. But my guess is that Kelce's not coming back, and that there would be an announcement before the start of the league year accordingly.
And with Fletcher Cox as well?
With Fletcher Cox as well, yes.
Okay. Now, before we get into playing general manager, this is a big day for you. You're going to be playing head coach.
Well, yeah. My son is starting football, loves football, and he starts football. And we got an email 2 weeks ago with the team assignments, and they needed a coach. They didn't have anyone volunteer to be the coach. And I didn't want to do it at first, and my schedule isn't really conducive for it during this time of year.
Jeez.
No, I'm saying like there's
Mr. Important over here.
Between the NFL draft is on a night of the game.
Okay.
The owners' meetings would conflict with the game. There's a family obligation in there at the night of a game. You don't want to be a head coach and miss half the games on the calendar.
Okay.
Right? That's what I mean. A baseball, T-ball is more conducive for he's at baseball, not T-ball now. But that I'm helping out with a few other dads in that coaching, because I know outside of that Saturday of the draft,
sure,
then I will be there. But the schedule for this did not work out. But anyways, I raised my hand because my son wanted me to do it. They needed someone to step up, and so I've been to a lot of football practices.
Yes.
I can run a football practice. I'm confident in that.
Interesting.
And I have some good play designs, but they're 6 years old, and I don't know the kids, and I don't know the skill. Like my son, for instance, I know this is the first time he's ever playing organized football. So
this is flag football.
Flag football, okay. Yes, and it's like official NFL flag football. So there's rules, and I've studied the rules, and I have a playbook, and I've organized what tonight's practice outline would be. But I really think what tonight is essentially going to be like a glorified tryout. I need to know who can be my quarterback, who can actually snap the ball, who's going to be my blitzer on defense. Like there's a handful of things I need to figure out before we get to the actual technical aspects. And I do wonder if I have to.
There's blitzing?
Yeah, you can. There's a pass rush, one of the 4 downs.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you play in the recess and you.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you need to figure that out, and so we need to do the fundamentals here. But as Nick Sirianni would tell you, connect is a core value. So
have you thought about your core values? I'd love to know your 5 core values.
Yeah. I actually have not specifically worked on the core values.
Okay.
I should get to that.
Eye color, number 1.
That is not. No, but we have to do the icebreaker at the top of the thing.
You're going to do an Oklahoma drill to start things off?
No, I want them to know their teammates. I was actually thinking the first thing we got to do is work on like putting the flag on and then knowing how to rip the flag off, because
yeah, I agree. That's pretty fundamental to the
yes,
I agree.
Exactly. So it'll probably be like a glorified game of tag at the beginning.
Oh, I like that.
We'll work
a good way to
out.
start. Yeah,
exactly. To get comfortable with that, and then we'll go from there. But I have it's not mine. It's a 46-page playbook that I downloaded for flag football.
Wow.
And I circled the plays that I think would work and the plays that we're taking out of the playbook. And I want to kind of introduce like 15 plays on offense and 15 plays on defense to get us up.
Feels like a lot of plays.
Yeah,
15 on each? Yeah, 30 plays for 6-year-olds?
Yeah, okay, maybe 5 and 5. Yeah.
That seems more realistic.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you. Listen,
Sure.
You're the coach. Don't
Sure.
tell me.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I show up to practice with a long pole with a boxing glove on the end of it?
Well, you got to get your clearances first.
Okay.
So, yeah, they got to make sure you're able to coach the kids.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I look forward to this ongoing saga over the course of the next couple months. This will be fun to keep track of. All right, Zach, let's get into the business at hand here. Now, I got to say, so what we're doing, we've each come up with 5 moves that we would make if we were Howie Roseman before the draft. So this does not incorporate the draft, although the draft is part of your decision-making process, right? If you think, okay, I'm not going to fill the cornerback position because I know that come the draft, I plan to draft a corner with one of those 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. But you have to obviously address the roster in free agency without knowing what's going to happen in the draft. So that's part of the process. And I got to say, this was a 12-hour, 16-hour exercise for us since the end of yesterday's show. And I wish I had a whole week. It's also this is fun. I imagine that if you are in the in the room where it happens, as it were, when you're going through these planning meetings, that's got to be about as fun a part of the job as it gets, aside from when the team is winning on Sundays. This is what it's all about.
I agree with you.
It made me very jealous of the room where they're talking these things through.
And I have a confession to make. This was 2.5 weeks ago, and Emily comes down and she sees me holding a controller, and she's like, "You're playing video games right now? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm actually doing stuff for work." And she looked at me very quizzically. And what I was doing is I was going through the Madden off seasons as an exercise to prepare for not specifically this, but for full disclosure, I have something coming up in next week. I'm going to coordinate it with when your stuff comes out, which I do every year, which is a 10-step, a 10-step guide to the offseason. If I were Howie Roseman, this is how I would do it. And that includes the draft leading up to the season, contracts. But so this is a part of that exercise. But that was kind of a primer on some of the free agents and some of the strategy involved there. Now, I know that you can roll your eyes and say it's Madden, but it was just a thought exercise because you're forced to be in that position. Okay, if this player signs, what's the rest of the board look like? That kind of thing.
How does the offseason work in Madden these days? Is there a running clock? Is there how does it, how does free agency work?
Yeah, well, so you can tag players. And then,
and that seems pretty obvious.
Okay. And then you get, there's the re-signing period, and then you get to the free agency period. And there are 3 weeks, but within each week, there's 3 evaluation periods. So let's say week 1, you can put 5 offers in, and then you can, before you advance to the next week, there's 3 rounds of those 5 offers. And then week 2, it goes to 10 offers. And then week 3 is unlimited amount of offers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Super chat from Real Time, who's asked the question that we asked: Does Zach Berman have 5 core values for the kids? So by Monday, maybe you'll be back with the core values for us.
I'll circle back on that.
All right. Would you like to go first? Since you had your
well, no, I do have something I just want to jump off with at the start.
Yeah.
Which is free agent rules, if you will, 5 kind of homemade rules that I think about, because this is really focused on free agency, and this is something I'm going to apply for all my stories. Is number 1, don't pay for a career year. Okay, when I look at the free agents where the Eagles hit, Connor Barwin was coming off a 3-sack season. 2 years before, he had a double-digit sack season. Malcolm Jenkins was coming off a tough year in New Orleans. Brandon Brooks was coming off a little bit of a down year in Houston. So I don't like to pay for the career year. Number 2, and this
there are guys who would qualify for that, like Patrick Queen, for instance, would be a career year.
Yeah, and we'll get to that obviously in the thing. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. And then also we should say next week we're also going through a lot of these options.
We're getting down and dirty on everybody next week.
Number 2, and this is the Bo Wulf, the Bo Wulf rule. This is in honor of Bo, and it's something that he's said. For our longtime listeners, you know this well. You have to ask why.
Handsome. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, why is he available? Why is the player available? So you have to look, is it the money that the team already has allocated at the position? Is it a scheme problem? Is if a team's tight on cap space? But if there's a team that's letting a young player walk and that team has money, then that's something you got to be a little worried about. So evaluate why that player is available. Number 3, the age profile is important. And I don't like paying someone in free agency beyond like the age 27 season, unless it's a 1-year deal or a very concentrated thing.
I think that one is, I don't think it's a bad idea
Yeah.
to pay a defensive, like an edge rusher for a 1-year deal who's 31 years old necessarily, if it's a reliable player. But yeah, I mean, don't pay big money for multiple years, right?
Number 4, and this one is the opposite of my approach in the draft, but scheme matters. In free agency, you're signing a player specifically to come in day one, contribute in the scheme you have. So in the draft, I say don't ever draft a player based on scheme. You don't know what the scheme's going to be like in year 3 of that player's contract. You don't know, how that player's going to adjust from college to the NFL.
Sure.
For free agency, it's very much a factor. Is this is a plug and play decision? So he needs to fit in your specific scheme. And then number 5. Obviously, the most important things a player considers is the money. You get that. Winning also factors into it. Sometimes it's where to live, and so I don't want to the money's a big part of this. But be careful about paying for a mercenary. In other words, every player should get what they want. But if that player doesn't want to be on your team, don't try to convince them to, because I think where you run a mistake in free agency is when that guy doesn't actually want to be there. And so, there should be, obviously every player has a rate and the player deserves that market rate, but there should be mutual interest. If a player doesn't want to play for your team, I would move on to the next option.
I mean, don't you think that most of the time, that interest is just about the money?
Sure, but I look at a situation like DeMarco Murray, for instance.
Yeah, sure.
Where sometimes
I think that's a good rule of thumb.
You find guys who they're just not interested in playing for your team, and they're there, and then it affects their maybe how they adjust to the locker room, how they take to the coaching, how they fit within the culture of the city. So obviously, a player should want to get as much as he can. And a team should pay a player in order to come. You don't expect the guy to come at a 60% discount. But if there's not mutual interest, this isn't like college recruiting, right? I mean, it should be, there needs to be mutual interest from where I stand.
Okay. Now, before we get into your actual first one, let's extend the foreplay a little bit longer. As you looked at this exercise from the Eagles' perspective, what were your top priorities to get done with the roster?
Yeah, fixing the defense, in particular, the middle of the defense, linebacker and safety. And I will get to that being a priority. And then my number 1 is obviously has to do with the screenshot or the thumbnail on the photo, which is the thumbnail photo, I should say, which is the Haason Reddick decision.
All right, well, let's get to it. What are you doing with Haason Reddick?
So number 1 is you make a Haason Reddick decision. And if you can sign him to a 3-year deal at $70 million or thereabout, you keep him. But if it's going to go more than that, then you trade him. And you trade Haason Reddick to the Detroit Lions, let's say, a team in win-now mode that has some picks for number 73 overall this year. That's 3rd round. And 2nd round pick in 2025. Or the other option is the Arizona Cardinals, a team that needs pass rush help, that has money to spend, where Jonathan Gannon has the history with him. It's not a great edge rusher class beyond, we talked about Dallas Turner. I'm a big Dallas Turner guy, ran well. But if you're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. in the 1st round, are you getting a guy in round 2 who's going to be a difference maker on the edge? Maybe not as much as Haason Reddick. So in that case, number 35 overall pick, which is high in the 2nd round, and a 4th round pick.
I mean, that sounds way better. 35 and a 4th versus a mid 3rd and a future 2nd. I mean, that one's way better.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, maybe you can get 2 3rds.
So which one are you going for?
Well, obviously, you'd prefer the Arizona one, right?
Okay. But but this is you're supposed to present one of the thing that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm trading. I'm saying I'm trading Haason Reddick.
You're trading Haason Reddick.
And I'm giving you 2 teams, and I'm giving you what my asking price would be. I mean, with the Lions, you would like their 1st round pick. I don't know if you're going to get a 1st round pick.
They don't have a 2nd?
No, they do. And that's what I'm saying. I would rather trade for that 2nd round pick next year. You don't know. The Detroit Lions are at the bottom of the 2nd round this year. So my point is if you're getting a 2nd and a 3rd, the Eagles have 2 seconds this year. I would rather take a 3rd this year when the Eagles are drafting at the end of the 3rd round, and then take a 2nd next year in a draft that I think is going to be a deeper draft next year because of, we'll get into it during the year about the lack of underclassmen this year, given the NIL. And there's variability with you know what that Lions pick is this year. It's the end of the second round. What if Jared Goff gets hurt or the Lions aren't as good next year and all this and that pick, instead of being at the bottom of the second round, is in the middle of the second round. So that's why if the Lions are the team, I'm more interested in the second round pick next year and a third round pick this year. They have 2 third rounders. Okay. And then as part of this, and I can make this number 2, but as part of this, you need a Haason Reddick replacement, and I'm signing Josh Uche to a 2-year, $16 million deal.
Okay. Now, Uche is an interesting player. Never earned like full-time reps for Bill Belichick in New England, but has been a productive per snap pass rusher in terms of quarterback hits. Actually, I was looking at it like of all the guys, his split between like the sacks that he gets on quarterback hits, he converts those hits to sacks at a pretty high rate. I don't know if that means that is not sustainable or not. I haven't done the full digging there, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I like him as 2 years ago was a double-digit sack guy. Last year had a down year, and he's actually, there are similarities to Haason Reddick in terms of body type, in terms of advanced pass rush statistics. When you signed him, I think that if you're looking for a Reddick replacement, he's 25 years old going in. He was a second-round pick out of Michigan. There's a lot to be interested in there.
Okay. Well, let me put on my Howie Roseman sunglasses. It's my turn to be Howie. We have talked about this, and I'm going the other way. I am re-signing Haason Reddick.
I'd be on board with that.
And the corollary to that is that I am trading Josh Sweat.
Okay.
And this is a totally made-up trade, but I'm trying to fulfill 2 things at once here. So I'm re-signing Haason Reddick, and I am trading Josh Sweat and a 5th-round pick to the Los Angeles Rams, who are trying to go all in on one last ride with these aging stars, Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford. You get a little edge rush help in Josh Sweat in exchange for number 52 overall, and Ernest Jones. They're very good. Help. They're very good young linebacker who is entering the final year of his rookie deal. Probably too good of a player for the Rams to part with, but that's my 2 birds with 1 stone move here, and that means I don't need to sign a free agent linebacker at the high end of that market. And I have extra room now to spend at a different position.
What's your contract for Haason Reddick?
Let's call it. I think 370 is about right.
Okay, so we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that it's going to take more to keep Haason Reddick than 3 for 70. I think you'd probably have to look at 3 for 80 in that case.
Yeah, I don't think he gets that.
Okay.
But okay, so there you go.
Let's snake this. Let's let you go number 2.
Well, before we snake it, let's talk about our new sponsor, Zach, because this right here is a delicious can of our new sponsor, Olipop. That's a pop. That's a pop for you. Let me tell you about Olipop, okay? Olipop is the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support gut health. I've got the lemon lime here, very good. And Olipop is a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of fiber per can. Olipop is available online and available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including the most recent launch at Wawa stores. Olipop's debut in Wawa could not be more of a match made in heaven. A delicious, healthy drink meets a convenience store, both of them adored by a cult following, and the 2 flavors debuting in Wawa are classic root beer and strawberry vanilla. They're 2 most popular flavors. Olipop is a new kind of soda. People, 2 out of 3 Americans say that they suffer from digestive issues, and 95% of Americans don't get the daily recommended amount of fiber. Olipop is tackling both of those issues with a drink that tastes just like soda. Research has linked some of those issues to poor gut health, so taking care of your microbiome may be one solution to your digestion problems. Olipop has delicious, nostalgic flavors like vintage cola, classic root beer, orange squeeze, classic grape, strawberry vanilla, cream soda, and cherry cola. They also have a Dr. Goodwin and a brand new lemon lime flavor that I'm telling you right now is very good. So use the PHLY20 code for 20% off your next Olipop order. The discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. Olipop is sold online at drinkolipop, that's OLIPOP.com, and on Amazon. And it's available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and GoPuff. I'm done. Go ahead.
I didn't know what that was.
That's a close. That's a closing pop.
Oh, okay.
Period on the sentence.
Let me tell everyone about Empire Today, because if you're in the market for flooring, Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. And of course, there's copycats, but they can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, and speed. They advertise low quality products that Empire might not carry, but Empire won't promise you the lowest prices, because anyone who does is putting flooring in their home that wouldn't put in theirs. And that's why you can count on quality with Empire Flooring. Empire Flooring, they have a simple, curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. You'll have a selection that's important to them as it is to you. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to make sure that you have the perfect style. And they have a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how the new floor is going to look in any space. It's easy. All you have to do is just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. And shopping for floors at a big box store, that can be frustrating because you talk to someone who doesn't really know all about flooring. At Empire Today, what you're getting is people who live and breathe flooring. So you can be confident that you're getting honest, upfront advice. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive up to a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
All right. Now, part of the reason that I was sort of searching for that Ernest Jones trade is like the free agent linebackers. You know, they're not going to pay, and nor would I in this situation, at the top of the market for Patrick Queen.
Sure.
I'm intrigued by Frankie Louvu, and we will get to him.
Yeah, you're a Louvu guy.
And I think there are reasons to be very interested there, but
you don't want Louvu to be a lemon, though. Joey appreciated that.
What's the joke?
Of all your bad jokes that I sell, of all the years, Lululemon, it's a popular brand.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So you don't want Louvu to be a lemon.
Okay,
so,
that's not bad.
Okay.
Lululemon, I like that.
A lot of people, instead of saying you're wearing Lululemon, they say you're wearing Lulu. So that's when I think of Louvu, I think of wearing Lulu.
All right, you know what? That deserved a response.
Thank you.
I apologize.
A different co-host might have gotten a response from you, but
no, I didn't get it. I thought you were going for like lemon lime or something like that, or just
no, I was going for Lululemon.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yep,
I might use that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
it's okay.
Go
on. Then you get to like the Blake Cashman, Jordan Brooks. I think is a guy who could potentially be of interest for the Eagles. But like, you know, if you're paying in the middle class, is that the right way to go about it? I don't know. I mean, they certainly need somebody, and so that's why I like the Ernest Jones. And now the flip side is at safety, there are a lot of options in the middle class, and I think that is probably where they're going to end up going. But for these purposes, for this exercise, if I'm able to fill linebacker without having to pay for it, I'm gonna pay at the top, and I'm gonna sign Xavier McKinney.
Okay.
Who
now? Okay, go on, and then I'm going to ask you a follow-up question.
Now, Over the Cap has the projected deal for McKinney at 3 years at $11.5 per year. I think that's reasonable. He's 25 years old. He can do everything. If you're talking about this Eagles roster, like the championship caliber, like culture that they want to bring in, he has that. Obviously from Alabama. Now, from a long-term roster position, you might think, well, we have a glut of safeties with Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. I think that you can't necessarily count on that one. And two, I'm releasing Avonte Maddox, and Sidney Brown, when he comes back, is going to be in the mix to be playing nickel like all the time, and maybe it's a 3 safety package. I think that's not a bad problem to have. 3 guys of quality at that position. So McKinney is the guy who is my big spend in free agency.
I like that. A few follow-ups here. Number one, you, more than me, are very anti-division rival signing. You don't like, you say it with Dallas in particular, but you see it with Washington and the Giants. Was that a concern for you
It's
here?
not that I am anti that. It's just that the Eagles' history of doing it has been terrible.
So does that concern you here?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I mean,
For what reason?
James Bradbury worked out fine.
Mm-hmm.
For what reason? Is he's a very good young player. It's not like it's not the case of this guy did well against you a couple times and you're overvaluing that to bring him in. I also don't think it's the case of like there's long-standing bad blood between the Eagles and Xavier McKinney. And I think he's just the best player on the market at that position.
I agree with you there. I really like Xavier McKinney.
And from the Howie Roseman, talking about wanting to get younger on defense and like building this thing. And I think that's a real thing because you think about like what went wrong with Vic Fangio in Miami, and you hear about the discord with the veterans in the secondary, like Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard not necessarily getting along. And this is like a cantankerous guy. And then you also think back to like that Bears defense that was so good. A lot of young guys on that defense. And I think that for a controlling personality like Vic Fangio who wants things done his way, what are you looking at?
I'm reading a comment. I'm sorry. I'm listening to you. Yeah, I'm reading a comment.
You're like very...
There's a very specific Olipop comment in there that I was reading. We don't have to read it on the air. But
okay, you were like...
Sorry.
Totally zoned in. What is going on? For some reason, your specific eye work today is really throwing me off.
Thanks for calling attention to it to the audience.
So all of that is to say that like turning over this Eagles defense, and if Fletcher Cox does retire, maybe Vic's style works better. This is just a sort of a half-baked philosophy with like younger players who haven't been other places and are more willing to buy into the scheme. And so, Xavier McKinney's been around, but he's only 25, 26 years old. A group that can grow together.
I'm with you there. I frankly think that they'd be priced out for McKinney. I'm expecting Antoine Winfield Jr. to be tagged. And I'm expecting McKinney to be the top safety on the market. There are teams now there's a lot of safeties on the market. That's a position that teams are letting players hit there.
There are a lot, and there's there's a beholder to this too. Like some people might think Cam Curl is going to get more money, or Geno Stone, although probably not quite that much. But
yeah. So look, if you're willing to pay top of the market, I am with you on McKinney. I don't want to say that your list and my list are like a little divorced from like reality. I think I was
a little bit, but
I think I was kind of operating within like my expectations of restraint in the sense that, if you can sign Haason Reddick, I will keep Haason Reddick, but I don't think they're going to be able to sign Haason Reddick. Therefore, I gave the trade and the Josh Uche option. If they're able to sign Xavier McKinney, that's a player I'd be very interested in for sure.
So you're saying I'm not being realistic, but you are?
Yeah, I think my list is probably a little more based on...
I've signed one guy to an $11.5 million deal.
And you signed Haason Reddick. You kept Haason Reddick.
But I also traded Josh Sweat.
I'm
clearing that money.
You signed Haason Reddick and you signed Xavier McKinney. I'm saying that.
Yeah, I'm not going to be signing Mike Evans coming on here. Like,
don't be
that's
offended.
Two real deals. That is in line with what they're able to spend.
Okay. I hear you. I think it's going to cost more to get Xavier McKinney than that, but I hear you there. If you can get Xavier McKinney,
you know more than the guy who runs over the cap. You know more than Jason Fitzgerald.
Okay. How about what? I'm curious. What does Shio Kapadia say it will take to sign Xavier McKinney?
I don't know, but now you're making Jason Fitzgerald very angry.
No, I'm not. I think Jason, and I should give a strong endorsement for Over the Cap right now. They are terrific this time. They're terrific throughout the year, but especially this time of year, they are the best in terms of the NFL cap of all the places that you look. I'm just pulling something up here real quick. Pro Football Focus has the projection for Xavier McKinney to be $13.5 million per year.
Well, you know how I feel about that website.
A 4-year deal, $54 million total, $30 million guaranteed is what their projection
that's fine.
is.
That's an extra $2 million. It's fine. It's realistic. I am saying I am willing to pay.
Yeah.
I am willing to pay the cost for the best safety on the market. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but I'm saying that there's a difference between a 4-year, $40 million deal and a 4-year, $54 million deal. So.
Well, I didn't say 4 years, $40 million.
What did you say? 4 years.
I said three for 11.5 per year.
Okay. So
okay. Maybe, and we can push fake money around. It's fine. This is the dumbest argument we have ever had.
We've had much dumber arguments, I can assure you that. Okay, so that's a good one there, and I'm on board if you can sign McKinney. You were really insulted by that.
Yeah, because I took time to do this realistically.
All right, so we're snaking here. So my next two is dependent upon one variable, and that's how is the evaluation on Jeremy Chinn in terms of position. Jeremy Chinn's a player who I've said that the Eagles have been interested in the past. He's a player I like. He's a player that I can
Congratulations to everybody who bet and hit on Zach, including Jeremy Chinn in his offseason.
That's the thing is so Jeremy Chinn did not have a good year last year in Carolina with a defensive structure that is based in the Vic Fangio's tree.
Sure.
Evero, their defensive coordinator, came from Denver he was there when Fangio he followed up. He was the D coordinator after Fangio, but
he's in the greater tree.
He came from the Rams with that. Yeah, he's in that tree. And that's concerning because, like I said in the free agency rules, scheme matters. If Jeremy Chinn does not fit as a safety in this defense, then I don't think the Eagles are going to sign Jeremy Chinn to play safety in this defense. And I think Vic Fangio is going to have a lot of sway in terms of personnel, more so than Sean Desai had. And when they were interested in Jeremy Chinn, they were in a Jim Schwartz attack-style defense. And that might be the style defense that Chinn is better suited for. The other thing, and I say this ties into my 2 and 3, is the Eagles might evaluate Jeremy Chinn as a linebacker. And if you evaluate him as a linebacker and you think he can play in Vic Fangio's scheme, I'd be very interested in signing him as a linebacker, considering the speed, the playmaking ability. I think there's a lot there to work with. So the evaluation of Jeremy Chinn. But if you view him as a safety, I don't think he'll fit in this defense. So I'm expecting the Eagles to look hard at this safety market. If Jeremy Chinn is not a safety, where do they turn? Xavier McKinney would be a great place to turn. In my exercise, they are priced out for Xavier McKinney. I'm looking at that next tier. I'm thinking about the 2014 free agency. When Jarius Byrd made a lot of sense, it's too expensive for the Eagles. Even TJ Ward was too expensive for the Eagles. They identified a player that really kind of fit the price, the age profile, the personality profile. There's a lot there to like. Well, what if I could interest you in, does this sound like someone you might know? A New Jersey native, a North Jersey native, North Jersey native, who went to Ohio State, who plays safety, who's respected by his teammates, known for his intellect back there. Does that sound like a profile you've heard of?
Go ahead.
Okay. Jordan Fuller from the Los Angeles Rams. Jordan Fuller, who was like a key part of that Rams secondary that won a Super Bowl, has dealt with a few injury things. He's still young, 25 years old, I believe, going into the age 26 season. And he has experience in this style of defense. I think that's a player that could make sense and a player that's not going to cost you a lot. You're looking probably in that $6-7 million range, which is probably conducive within their pay structure. I think the translate scheme wise, you're not getting a high end athlete in terms of, like, if you look at his combine testing, there's a reason why he slipped to the 6th round. He was in the 4.6s as a runner, but there's a lot of productive tape. And I think the personality fit is something that they could like. He can be a leader on the back end.
I like a Jordan Fuller.
Yeah. And then my wild card at safety is Darnell.
Darnell Savage. Go ahead.
Yeah. My wild card at safety is Darnell Savage, a Delaware native. Shout out Martin Frank. First round pick by the Packers, who is a ball hawking type, not really known for his run defense or his tackling or his run fits, but gives you a lot of athleticism on the back end. And if that's how you're going to use your safeties to play deep, I think that's someone who he's still young, 20, even though he played 5 years in Green Bay, they exercised his fifth-year option. I think that there's a lot of talent there, and that could fit as well.
So just to clarify, this is what you would do, not what you think they will do.
This is a combination of both. It's both predictive so it's...
So you're just not doing the exercise.
I am doing the exercise. I'm doing it so if I were Howie Roseman, okay, I'm in these... See, what I'm doing, by the way, is I'm not this unilateral GM. When I'm in the meeting, and we're saying this is what our offseason priorities are. I'm sitting and Zach, within the confines of what we have cap-wise, within the confines of what we have need-wise, who are the guys you like? What makes sense for where we are as a team? And now I should also add the variable.
That's probably how we should have done this. We should have done this as we were working on it together.
The variable here that I simply don't know, and I've shout out to Sean Syed from he's from Sumer Sports, but the Ringer PHLY Special podcast. He knows a lot more about specifically the Vic Fangio defense than I do, and I've listened and read his material, and I know quite a bit about this defense, but I don't know. I haven't spoke to Vic Fangio yet, specifically about what the Eagles, what it will look like for the Eagles, and so that's why that's a variable here that I can't account for. I don't know what they think about Jeremy Chin, but Jeremy Chin would be a player I'd be heavily interested in if he fit in their defense.
Okay, so your move here is Jordan Fuller.
My move here is Jordan Fuller.
Okay. Do you have are you doing two? Are we doing the snake thing?
Yeah, we're doing the snake.
Okay.
And so that's why. So linebacker. Okay. If you're operating under the assumption, so let's say Jeremy Chin's not a linebacker for them. So let's take Jeremy Chin out.
Okay.
But if he is, I'm signing Jeremy Chin as a linebacker.
Okay.
Okay. I'm all in on Jeremy Chin.
Yeah, it's okay.
But they have to be all in on Jeremy Chin too. The Patrick Queen's obviously the ideal. Patrick Queen, they're going to be priced out of. So let's go next. Jordan Brooks is a player that would really interest me. Former first-round pick. The Seahawks did not pick up his fifth-year option, but he's been, even though he had a torn ACL, he's been like durable in terms of games played. He recovered from that and had a full season this year. He's been able to do everything. He's been a 3-down linebacker. He can cover. He can tackle. He can do a lot. I think this is a really good player. I don't know if the Eagles are going to pay for a linebacker. That's my. So I would here in this case. The number I outlined is 4 years, $40 million.
Well, that's unrealistic.
Is what?
I'm just kidding.
That's the thing.
You could have said anything, and I would have said that.
I don't think the Eagles sign a $10 million linebacker. So this is what if Howie said, if I'm Howie and I'm saying finally we're ready to sign a linebacker. Let's find a guy who can be a starter for us for the next 3 years, can fit in this Vic Fangio scheme, can be a key player on this defense. Outside of Patrick Queen, Jordan Brooks would be the player I would target over Frankie Louisville. Okay. My wild card, my inexpensive option is Willie Gay. I think Willie Gay is going to come relatively cheap. I think maybe there's a 1-year show me deal. He's coming off a down year in Kansas City. But he's someone who has a lot of athleticism. I'm not being on like the cohabitation matrix here, but as we said on the show the other day, a teammate of A.J. Brown in high school. You look at his testing numbers off the charts. You look at his time with the Chiefs, and you say, why is he available? Well, Nick Bolton is their top linebacker, understandably so. Drew Tranquill is a free agent, but he's someone who had a better year for them than Willie Gay. Willie Gay...
They have lots of guys to pay.
Yes, they have lots of guys to pay. Willie Gay kind of said at the end of the season, his career with the Chiefs is probably over. But if you have Willie Gay next to Nakobe Dean, I think that these are complementary players. Willie Gay gives you like the sideline athleticism.
Crazy speed, right?
The speed. Nakobe Dean is kind of your... When I say brains of the defense, that makes it seem like Willie Gay's not the brains of the defense. But yeah, that Nakobe Dean's your green dot guy.
He's reading what's going on. Willie Gay's flying around.
A little undersized, and Willie Gay's flying around. Yep.
He had some off the field stuff coming in, right?
Yeah. Maturity issues were the question with him. I believe he got in a fight with Garrett Schrader, their quarterback. At one point, there was an academic issue at one point at Mississippi. I don't want to. Again, I'm testing my memory
I
here.
don't want to mischaracterize it either.
Yeah, I don't want to mischaracterize it, but
I think he's a player to watch.
That was kind of the knock.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think that's a
Willie
good
Gay would be the inexpensive option for me.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. All right, one thing that I wanted to make sure that I did is I am worried about wide receiver depth, and I don't want to go into the draft without addressing, right now on the roster, Britton Covey's the number 3 guy.
Sure.
Right? And I want somebody in place for, $3 million who, if the board does not fall our way for a wide receiver in the mid rounds, we're okay.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I looked at the guy, I'm not, obviously we're not talking, the Mike Evans or the Hollywood Browns here. So these are the guys I looked at. I'm comparing them to Olamide Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins. You've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who was just released by the Chiefs. Nick Westbrook-Akini from the Tennessee Titans. Tyler Boyd, who was the third banana in Cincinnati. KJ Osborne, who was the slot receiver for Minnesota. Noah Brown, who's been with the Cowboys and the Texans and filled in this year. And then finally, DeAndre Carter, our old friend. Okay.
Yes.
So you've got these 9 guys. And I'm looking at their stats over the past 2 years. Yards per route. Curtis Samuel is also in here. Sorry.
Shields' favorite.
Shields' favorite. Yards per route run. Number 1, Noah Brown. Number 2, Curtis Samuel. Number 3, Tyler Boyd. Yards per target. Number 1, Tyler Brown. Number 2, Olamide Zaccheaus. Number 3, Nick Westbrook-Akini. Now you split it to man versus zone. Who's the best against man? Noah Brown, number 1. Curtis Samuel, number 2. Who's the best against zone? Noah Brown, number 1. Tyler Boyd, number 2. And Nick Westbrook-Akini in there as well. Then you go to the slot, and once again, Noah Brown is on top. He keeps popping up for me, Noah Brown. There's also the connection to played for Kellen Moore for several years in Dallas. He's going to be 28.5 next year. Maybe the market is going to be more into Noah Brown than I'm expecting, but I think that's the guy who I like to add to this group, knowing that, if Devontae Smith and or A.J. Brown has some kind of injury this year, you've got a little bit better depth there for what I think is the most important part of this team, keeping it a top 5 offense and especially a passing offense.
I like your options. I disagree with the premise of your focus there. I am not paying for a free agent wide receiver. I am going into the draft and saying it's a deep receiver class that the Eagles need to get. They need to get how you projected Jalen Hyatt last year in your shadow draft. They need to get someone who's inexpensive, who's young, and then fits within that structure of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So I am not paying for a veteran, and that's a position where I'm okay going into the draft saying, let's get a third receiver in the draft, and if it doesn't work out, we'll see who's on the market thereafter. But that is not a priority of mine. I like your players. I would just spend my money differently.
Okay. And then my other thing here is, I don't have a running back here because my plan is let the market come to me. I'm going to sign a running back the second week of free agency, and it doesn't really matter to me necessarily who it is, because I would actually I'm more interested in, without knowing the class as well, drafting a third round running back than a third round wide receiver right now. So that I'm letting come to me. The other thing here is that now that I need to backfill, that I have traded Josh Sweat. I want to sign a veteran edge rusher who is a little bit of a different body, because if I'm left with Reddick and Nolan Smith there, you need somebody with a little bit more heft. And the guys like, DJ Wanham is probably a little bit out of my price range. Guys, you don't want him. That's exactly right. Want him, don't need him. Zadarius Smith would be great, but that's a little bit too pricey given the level. There are some like buy low guys like Caleb on Chason. You could just throw it. It's sort of like the
draft pedigree guy. I like it.
Exactly. It's like the Greedy Williams signing from last year. Bryce Huff is going to be a little bit out of my price range, and so this is another one where I'm sort of letting it come to me. Even Yannick Ngakoue is not the right body type necessarily. I'm a little bit intrigued by Mike Dana from the Chiefs. I don't think he's going to get a ton. He does not rush the pass rusher or rush the quarterback productively. But you want me to sell Hail to the Victors a little more?
No, I'm not. I'm just sorry. He went to Michigan, so that's why.
And so I actually don't even have a great answer here, but it's just I'm spending $6 to $8 million on backfilling with a different body type at defensive end.
And you're okay at that point if it's like a 31-year-old on a 1-year deal. Like you're not looking for a core player. You're looking for just someone to help this year.
Yes, because I've picked up that 2nd round pick in the Ernest Jones fake trade. I have a 1st and 3 seconds to address right tackle of the future, a cornerback of the future, and then something else on defense probably, and that might end up being an edge rusher.
Okay. I like that. I like your offseason.
I've got one more at the end, but go ahead.
Okay.
Because we snaked. That was my 3-4.
Oh, yes. Okay. So at running back, I agree with you. I'm letting the market come to you. I'm being a little aggressive in one specific situation.
Cleveland Farrell was also, Tracer Bullet mentions him, and actually is a guy who would make sense there.
Shout out to Mike Mayock. I'm saying to DeAndre Swift, I'm saying, DeAndre, you were really productive here. We like you. We like the way you play. We like the way you fit here. There's a lot to like. I'm sorry, man. This is a tough year to be a free agent running back. It is a loaded class. You're not going to get, if you get the deal you want on day 1, day 2, good for you. If not, you have a 1-year deal to come back here, to play, to be the featured guy in our backfield, and then you hit the market next year. You're still at age 26 at that point. We're going to pay you $5 million, $5.5 million to be our starting running back this year. We're not going to tag you next year. Like, you get to be a free agent running back next year in a class it's not going to be as strong unless there's a lot of older guys coming onto it. That the next year's free agent running back, like the draft picks that are the guys who are on expiring deals, it's not nearly as strong.
Right.
You don't have, this is basically 2 free agent running back classes in one, because Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, all those guys were tagged. Tony Pollard, they were all tagged. So that's why it's a tough year to be on the market. So I'm saying, DeAndre, you have a 1-year deal waiting for us that fits us this year, pays you, and you can hit the market next year.
And if you don't take this deal by Wednesday, there's a good chance your market totally crashes.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's my approach.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. And if he says, guys, I'm going to the highest bidder, I'm sorry, then what I'm doing is this. I am trading. I'm going to try to trade for similar to what they did with DeAndre Swift last year, what they did with Jordan Howard a few years ago. You're looking for a guy entering the last year of his deal. Ramondre Stevenson would fit that.
Oh, interesting.
Now, you're saying, well, he was the top back in New England last year. Well, is New England going to pay him? Are they going to go young? Are they going to just try to get more draft picks there? Stevenson has been on record saying he wants to be an every down back, that the Patriots have cut, they signed Zeke Elliott last year. They've had him pair with Damian Harris in the past. You say, given the stage of where the Patriots are, is Stevenson available? That would be a guy I would trade for.
Different type of back than the Eagles have typically gone for.
Yep. And then the other play is that, and this is a shout out to Bo Wulf's great trade deadline coverage last year, but Dameon Pierce fell out of favor with the Texans.
Oh, I like that.
He has 2 years left on his deal. So this is not a guy a team's trading because they're not going to re-sign him. This is saying he fell out of favor for you. Devin Singletary took over. Change of scenery. You come in. He was productive 2 years ago. We're going to give him a chance here.
I like that.
Okay.
And then before you get to your number 5.
Okay. Well, just one last thing on running back. If you say, Zach, you need to sign. We can't trade for one. We're not going into the draft bare at that position. Give me one guy on the market who's going to come in expensive, who you'd like us for us to sign.
You're Rashad Penny.
Yeah, I would say A.J. Dillon is the guy I would look for there.
Okay. I don't think that's unreasonable. Mm-hmm. Before we get to your number 5, Zach, as we are all looking to create a little cap space for our imaginary game here, we could use some Rocket Money, because Rocket Money is what I use to save money. I had I forget what it was that popped up very recently on Rocket Money just 2 days ago, and I was like, yeah, let's cancel that bad boy. And because it popped up on my screen, it reminded me, and like, do you still need this? No, I do not still need that. That's what Rocket Money does for you. Did you know that nearly 75% of people, that's 3/4 of people, have subscriptions they have forgotten about? Before I started using Rocket Money, I thought I had, I don't know, like 7 subscriptions, and it turned out to be like, I don't know, 20, something like that. Between the streaming services, the fitness apps, the delivery services, it's never ending. And thanks to Rocket Money, I'm no longer wasting money on the ones that I forgot about. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, like I did the other day, Rocket Money helps me cancel it with a few taps. And the best part, I don't have to do it. They do it for me. If there's a call to be made, dealing with customer service, if you're someone like Zach, maybe this is a detriment, but for me, this is a huge plus. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
In a decade plus of time going to the combine, a lot has changed. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite when you're at that bar. Because Miller Lite is the original light beer, and to this day, it's still the best one. It has more of the taste you want and less of the stuff you don't. Miller Lite it's the light beer that's great tasting and less filling. It has that clean finish, and it gives you what you look for in a beer with simple ingredients. Miller Lite keeps it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. It's a light beer that tastes like beer and it's less filling, only 96 calories. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller Lite. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces.
All right, Zachariah, you've got one more move left.
Yeah, so my last move isn't necessarily a move from the outside. It's an internal move, and it's 2 guys from the 2021 draft class. I'm exercising Devontae Smith's fifth-year option. Captain Obvious, thank you there. But I'm not. So
you're delaying the long-term deal.
I still want to sign him to a long-term deal, but I'm saying if we give you a long-term deal, I'm not saying if, I'm saying when we give you a long-term deal, let's do it in the summer. Maybe we can do it during the season, right? But I'm not doing it day one here because the player I'm signing from day one is Landon Dickerson. And the reason I'm saying, Devontae, this has nothing to do with you. It's just
good luck explaining that to him.
We love you, Devontae. The 5th-year deal is going to pay you among the top wide receivers. The 5th-year option is going to pay you among the top wide receivers in the NFL because we loved you so much that we drafted you in the first round, high above the first round. We have that 5th-year option to give us a little bit of flexibility. We don't have that with Landon Dickerson because we took him in the 2nd round. So that's what. So in Dickerson's case, what I would do if I were Howie Roseman is I would say I'm going to give you a really competitive offer here. I'll give you. I have it in my notes. Let's say 4 for $75. Okay, it's not quite what Chris Lindstrom got, but we're still going to make you one of the top 5 highest paid guards in the NFL.
Okay. Are you worried about how Devontae is going to take that?
Well, the Devontae discussion, it's an interesting one because he is eligible for the extension, but the 5th-year option gives them that flexibility, and that's the variable here. That's like a big deal. And I think from Devontae's perspective, similar to what we were talking about last year with Jalen Hurts, is that there's a class of wide receivers who are coming up. Jamar Chase is in that wide receiver class. Jalen Waddle was in that wide receiver class, right? So that it would behoove the Eagles to act quickly to try to get ahead of those deals. But I also think, I think you have to sign Devontae Smith immediately. I'm just saying that when you sign Devontae Smith, okay, there's a certain how does it affect your cap this year? I would just say there's some league business I need to take care of before signing you. So I would make Devontae Smith a priority. I'm saying I'm going to sign Devontae Smith, but the first thing I'm doing is exercising your 5th-year option. and then I'm signing Landon Dickerson because he's entering a contract year, and I don't want Landon Dickerson going in the camp with the contract status looming. In Devontae Smith's case, he's under team control for 2 years.
And I guess, like, if you were exercising the option, then it's not like you're paying him over the top of A.J. Brown, and that complicates that dynamic a little bit. And you get to make the decision next offseason if you want to trade A.J. Brown. But it's a little bit dicey.
Very much dicey. And that's why I originally said, when I put this exercise together, I originally said, sign Devontae Smith right away. But then I'm thinking, well, what does that do for Landon Dickerson? Like, because Landon Dickerson and
Porque no los dos.
And it's you can sign both, but I don't want Dickerson going into camp on the last year of his deal. I want to make that a priority before you get to camp, because when you're in that, I don't want to say lame duck status, when you're an expiring deal, that can sometimes factor into, if there's injuries, if there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So I want to take care of him before he's in the last year of his deal.
The flip side is that's an easy, that's a tag that's not going to hurt you.
Good point.
If you get to that next year with Dickerson.
I don't love tagging my players, but good point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, my last one is, speaking of the offensive line, if Jason Kelce retires, and with Sua Opeta and Jack Driscoll set for free agency, Lane Johnson getting up there in years, the depth on offensive line leaves you a little bit wanting. And I'm expecting in my plan here to draft like an offensive tackle in the first round, or at least the second round. But the interior is where I need some help. And I'm grinding film last night. I was up till 6 a.m. just watching every play.
Football guy right there. I love it.
Of all these guys who were available. And one player stood out. Really, really good starting guard. Can flip to center if I need to. And I am throwing the bag. This is an unprecedented offer.
Oh, I know where you're going here.
I am signing Michael Dunn to a 5-year, fully guaranteed $1 billion deal.
Okay.
And now I have everything I need on the offensive line.
Cap implications there, but very happy for Madison and the Dunn. I'm very happy for the Dunn family.
Listen, if I'm Howie Roseman, this is what I am doing.
Yes, okay.
And if I don't have a job tomorrow, that's okay, because I took care of my people.
Yes. All right. Oh, 68's not available though. Are you calling Jordan Mailata and saying you got to change your number, or is Michael Dunn wearing? He's going
to wear number 1.
Ah, okay. So you're telling Jalen Hurts to change his number.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, this is Michael Dunn's team.
All right. Well, that's an interesting offseason approach, but I am in support of the Dunn family being
billionaires.
No, being compensated for Michael Dunn's extraordinary both play, but also
it seems like an easy move, honestly.
Persistence to get to this point. And I think, I am a very objective report. Well, you can't be very objective. You're either objective or you're not. I'm objective, and I would not. But if there's one thing I'm rooting for this offseason, it's Michael Dunn to be compensated accordingly, because of the affection that I have for the family and for Marissa in particular.
So. Spoken to Michael Dunn recently?
Yeah, I spoke to Michael Dunn last night. My son had a chance to. Michael was so gracious with his time and his patience, and Reed wants to be a professional football player when he's older. We might have to work on a backup plan, but I don't want to spoil that for him right now. But the assignment is interview someone for this is a first grade assignment, pretty big deal. Interview someone for what you want to be when you're older, and ask what education training do you need, and what does the job include, and so he had a chance to talk to a legit NFL player, and he was very nervous when he did
advice?
You have to work really hard in school. You have to be a good teammate. Good. Yeah, you have to take care of your body.
Listen to your coach.
Listen to your coach. There's a lot. Yeah. But it's funny because before we knew we could speak to Michael, I was kind of helping out so I gave what so the number one professional responsibility I gave was
make sure you know the eye color of the person you're talking to.
No, in big bold letters, I wrote win. Number one is win.
Wow, that's interesting. That's so contra your normal.
No, but that's your job as a player is to win. So,
okay,
yeah. but probably for a first grader, there's more like motivational things you can put there.
Is that going to be your message to your flag football team tonight?
Well, you can't skip steps, right? You gotta win the day, I would say. So let's win this practice. But I don't quite. I'm nervous about, like, I think if I was,
you're gonna have a whistle.
Actually, Reed asked me that. I don't own a whistle, so no, and I'm not a good. You were giving us a good like soundtrack when we were doing the work before. You were whistling.
Yes, the Spirit Rangers songs that are in my head, the earworms.
I'm not much of a whistler, so no. But you know what? What I want to foster a fun environment. I want them to love football. As Peyton Manning would say,
going to start who's got it better than us.
Peyton Manning would say, "God bless football," right? So it's going to be
so you're bringing God into practice.
It's going to be a fun night, and we'll see what happens. But the first thing I'm going to do is going to have them go around and tell their favorite player, right? Because you're 6 years old. What's cooler than talking about these players? When I was 6 years old, I loved Keith Jackson at that age.
Okay,
I remember being real upset when he signed with the Packers. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, well, we look forward to the recap, and yes, shout out to the Lady Huskies, first time in franchise program history that they are regular season Hockey East champions. Quarterfinal start tomorrow. Very exciting.
And shout out to them. Congratulations.
Go ahead.
Just there was no doubt about Adam Schefter's reporting, but just to kind of give people an update as I look through my messages here, I can confirm that the Eagles are releasing Kevin Byard. And we're expecting more news in the coming days, like you said, about what's coming ahead of the Eagles. So make sure you check us all out. We're gonna have a lot of content on PHLY.com, and this was a transition for me to say this. We received some very good news yesterday that all our written content is now available on Apple News.
I thought you were going to say you were pregnant.
Why would you think I would say that? And that's it's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie right there, right? No, it's something that I've actually behind the scenes have been kind of asking about and hoping for, and I'm happy to report that is the case now. That PHLY is officially available on Apple News. Make sure that you follow the channel. And it will help. You'll get all our coverage there in the same place. Please still go to allphly.com. But if you're like me and you're reading Apple News or Apple News Plus every day, you can find our coverage there as well.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. On Monday, we begin the quackatology process. I think we're going to talk through the players on Monday, and then we're going to actually get into hot and heavy on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 64 free agents who we think the Eagles might sign or are most likely to sign. Also, some news likely to happen over the next couple days. So we will have you covered from all angles. For Julia and Zach, we thank you for being with us all week at the Combine, and we will talk to you on Monday. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.